In my previous video, I discussed in broad strokes the experience of trans people in World War II Germany. The experiences of trans people are just now being looked into, because the last video covered so much ground. And I strive to keep these videos under 3 minutes. I thought we could look at some experiences of trans people during this time period. During the Weimar years, Magnus Hirschfeld, pictured below with 2 of his patients, helped make great strides for the trans population. During this time, cross-dressing was illegal, but trans people could get so-called transvestite permits. Hirschfeld also helped many legally change their names. Once the Nazis took over, these permits were largely null and void. There was no directive to murder or arrest all trans people, but they were expected to detransition. A recent study in the Cambridge University Press by Laurie Marhofer looked at some individual trans people and their experiences. Much of the research is spotty, and we only have names, not photos. And we also know trans women were subject to worse violence than trans men. Marhofer discusses a few cases. A woman named H. Bode living in Hamburg held a transvestite permit pre-war. However, the Nazi ascent to power did not stop her. Bode was repeatedly arrested for wearing women's clothing. In 1943, the police decided to send her to Buchenwald, where she died. In 1933, a trans woman named Toni Simon fled the town of Essen after having her permit removed. She returned to the town and continued to live as a woman, hung out with gay men, insulted police officers, and made many anti-Nazi statements. She spent time in prison, and the last note in her file recommended she be sent to a concentration camp. Liddy Backroff also lived in Hamburg and had obtained a transvestite pass. She worked as a prostitute, selling sex to male clients. Because of this, she often ran into the police, who wrote in her file that she must be eliminated from society due to her moral crimes. Liddy was sent to Mauthausen in 1943, where she presumably lost her life. Hamburg police wrote, "Police officials are requested to observe the transvestites in particular, and as required, to send them to concentration camps." It is difficult to say, without doing my own in-depth research, if Hamburg was particularly interested in prosecuting trans people, or if they simply have more surviving records. We do know that some trans people were warned repeatedly and never sent to camps. There is at least one case of a trans man receiving his permit back after serving time in a concentration camp. Until more research is done, all we have is a very incomplete story.